Hi, Peter Charles here of Hooked for Life Fly Fishing. And today we're going to look at a fly that's worked well for me in the past. It's the March Brown Spider. Obviously the fly is used when March Brown mayflies are emerging. But it can also be used for bass, panfish. It's kind of a generic wet fly, and it's meant to imitate when an insect is swimming up from the bottom and trying to emerge as an adult. And you'll see as we tie it, it's tied in a sort of a Yorkshire wet style of tying with a hen hackle. And give it a try. It's actually kind of an interesting fly, and I like fishing it. So let's get started. I'm going to start off with my hook. This is a size, you can use an 8 or a 10. It's a long shank hook. Typical for a dry fly. I like this hook to be kind of light, so it doesn't sink too fast and stays close to the surface film. Our thread is a uni-thread dark brown. We're using a dyed mallard brown for our tail. The flash is a pearlescent flashaboo. Now I'm using a March Brown dubbing, which has sort of a pinky hue to it. And our hackle is brown hen, which this one's a mottled pattern. I like the mottling. It gives the effect of live legs once you tie it up. So let's get started and tie on our thread. Now let's start by laying on a base of thread, work that all the way back to the bend of the hook. Now here's an option you can do. You can put a little bump back here and by winding on a little bit of extra thread there. And what that does is it helps to splay the tail. So I'm just going to take my brown mallard, strip off a few barbs. There we go. We put them about the length of the hook. Now the reason why I'm using pearlescent flash is that an emergent insect fills its skin with gas, and so it can float up to the surface, and that gas shines quite brightly in the water. So you want something that looks like a bubble under the skin. I had the opportunity to actually see a mayfly emerge. It's in a calm bit of water right beside me, and I first noticed it as a bright spot coming up through the water column, and then it just got to the surface, split its skin open and flew away. It was that bright spot that caught my attention. So this is what the flashaboo does, is it gives it a bright spot. Okay, now we're going to put on our dubbing body, and if you've not dubbed a body before, the trick is not to go in too thick. There's a tendency when we're starting out, we really put it on thick, and we end up with a body that's all lumpy. We want something that looks like a cigar shape on this fly. So I'm just going to start off with just a little bit, and then I'll build that up. Now this looks rather light colored, but rabbit darkens down when it gets wet. Now we're going to wrap on our flash here, the flashaboo. Now the last step is to tie on our hen hackle, and as you can see, here's the hackle as it comes out from the cape, and here's how I've trimmed it. And I've trimmed it to be tied on in this fashion. You notice the little triangle, here's a tie-in point. The feather curves away from me, so when I had the curve away from me, I pulled off the right side. So now I'll just tie in that little triangle. Now you can use hackle pliers if you wish. It does make the job a little easier. Spread this out, and here I'm using my rotary vise, and just put one turn in front of the next, and if you've got one sticking up, just make sure everything goes behind the next wrap. Okay, there we go. I'll just push those back. Now we can tie this in. And the final step is to wet finish. Now one of the things I like to do is take an old toothbrush and just comb that out to separate the fibers. Now when this fly comes through the water, those fibers are going to pulse, just make it look alive, and it'll be an effective fish catcher. So give it a try, it's very effective, and it's a lot of fun to fish, both as a swung wet and as dead drifted nymph. Anyway, there you go, the March brown spider. Enjoy.